You were upset about James Watt.
Yeah, I was, and I think I'll get into that.
All right, welcome back to Secret Leaders. I'm Dan.
I'm Chris.
That's Chris. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and we are
You're Dan.
the hosts of Secret Leaders.
We're Secret Leaders.
Yeah, so this is a little Christmas recap because 'tis the season
It's a
for
weird
giving.
name, Secret Leaders, really, when you think about what the show is, isn't it?
I said that to you.
Yeah.
I said that
The
to
more
you.
we do it, though, I'm like, it is a strange name because they're not that secret as leaders.
I said all of this to you a few months
you did.
ago.
It's true. You were like, should we change the name? And I was like,
Yeah,
no,
should we
no.
change your name before we
I was
invest
like,
all
it's
this
my
money
favourite
in
podcast.
branding?
I
And
was like, it's my favourite podcast. Don't change
yeah,
it.
he was really stubborn about it. I was low ego about it. Then he got me all confident about it again, and now he's sitting here on the intro to a Christmas episode.
Second in the business charts, so whatever.
So the thing that you want to reflect on, Diary of a CEO is quite an odd name. I mean, it doesn't do that either.
Yeah, that is a weird name.
The best podcast name, full stop, in my opinion, Modern Wisdom.
High performance?
Yeah, it's also exceptional. High Performance may be the best. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, they are good. Anyway, I mean, we're sort of stuck with this name now, so...
Yeah, so I'm Chris. Anyway, no. So, speaking of Chris, Mus.
Okay.
Yeah, see what I did there?
No.
Yeah, it's a Christmas episode sort of thing.
So I suppose what we were going to try and do today was we were trying to recap the season so far. Obviously, I joined the show this year. It's been quite a thing, very challenging, very fun, very funny. We always actually said, like, the thing of coming together and doing a show together is, like, at the end of the day, it has to be really fun. We have to enjoy what we're doing. And I would say that for everything else that's happened, and I feel like it's been a really great period so far, we have laughed a lot.
We've laughed a lot. And, you know, the thing that I always said I really wanted was for when you describe how you feel about it, the first words to be, it's very challenging. So I'm just thrilled.
Podcast businesses are nuanced, I tell you.
They are.
They have their challenges.
Yeah, they do. Basically, getting really great guests into a studio on time.
Yeah.
Which you were very. I mean, I feel like you've had some very strong preconceptions. No, they'll come to us. No, like all this stuff.
Yeah, they will.
But I feel like these have slowly been broken down.
Have you seen our numbers?
Do you remember the time that Tony Wheeler, the guy that managed to travel the world, couldn't get from fucking Shoreditch to
That feels like
West
a long
London?
time ago.
Yeah.
He was such a dude as well. Sold a business. What did he sell a business for 90 million? And then now he's just like chilling.
He just goes on nice flights all over the world, doesn't he?
Just travels and talks at events.
And says things like, I was invited by Italy to come to their event. And I was like, huh?
Who is Italy?
Yeah, what? Italy invites people to events, does it?
No, we've had some really good times. I mean, Richard Harpen stands out to me. Like that, you know.
From Home Serve?
Yeah, from Home Serve to actually sell a business. I mean, valuations are crazy. To actually sell a business for 4 billion is quite crazy. And his number one bit of advice was like, copy and pivot. And I think
copy other businesses.
Yeah, so simple. I really liked it. So what do you think was the best interview of the year?
Do you know what? I think the one that I maybe enjoyed the most was probably Nadeem Zahawi.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that interview. I thought he was really interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of came from a place... I think the interviews I always enjoy the most anyway are ones where I've got low expectations because I have preconceived ideas.
Did you have no expectations of that?
It's more that I really don't like Boris and I don't like
Right.
the Tories.
Yeah.
And I've never voted for the Tories. And he's
So
a Tory.
presumably don't like him then, in advance.
Yeah, and I'm not like that tribal that I'm like, therefore, all the politicians. But yeah, he was chairman of the Tory party. And so...
I think it was tax scams.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's just all of these things that I'm like, no, this is someone that I won't like. And actually, I thought he was superb.
He was great on the day.
Great on the day, brilliant
Yeah.
communicator, very charming, took tough questions,
So
took
charming.
all my banter very
I think
well,
we could have gone
including
tougher.
me rinsing him about Boris parties.
Yeah.
He took that very well.
I think we could have been tougher on him, but he was very good on the day.
You weren't that tough on him. I did keep on bringing up the Boris parties to him, and
Yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
very
That's true.
uncomfortable.
I
You
was,
were just
I was
laughing.
early in my podcasting
Yeah,
career.
it's true. I feel like you as well have been feeling your way into it a little bit, right? At that point, you just weren't gonna rinse him.
No, I
You
wasn't
weren't sure
turn
how it
around
would
and be
go.
like, tell us about how you dodged the tax. And if you want to come back on,
We did ask him how he dodged attacks.
you
in
can
fairness.
come back on.
We did. Anyway, I thought he was good. I really enjoyed that interview. So that was probably my favourite. What about you?
I honestly, there have been so many I've loved. I love the moment you get lost in the interview. As in, like, I know I'm interviewing someone and I'm having so much fun that I'm just like, I've got loads of questions to ask this person.
So Spencer Matthews. For you.
Yeah. I mean, Spencer Matthews was
The one where you went anonymous.
Yeah, I mean,
You were so into it, you got lost.
Didn't say much in that one. But I also really did like that one because I had watched Made in Chelsea when I was younger, and so I was like, it's so nice to have one on the cast here. And it was interesting to hear about like his wife's business and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, good interview. Deborah Meaden for me, I think, was awesome because one, I grew up watching the show and I love Dragon's Den. Two, I don't know if I've seen her on like other shows. So
yeah, she doesn't do a lot of media. She doesn't need to, but she doesn't do much.
And that's the thing. I mean, podcasting is difficult. If you've got lots of great shows, you're going to have good people on lots of shows. It's good publicity. But I haven't seen her do a long form interview before. And so being the people that were able to capture that moment, I thought was really fucking cool. Obviously for us, like a hit of an episode, but she was also
our most popular episode of the series.
She was also just so fucking nice and so nice in person. And so, she doesn't have to be like, she's probably the most famous person we've had on recently. And yet she was, I would say, probably the nicest person we've had on recently, which I think is awesome.
She was authentic. You know, when people say that and it's a bit like, ugh, overused word, but she was authentic.
Yeah, totally.
She was herself.
And then, I mean, outside of that.
And also I gave her my Heights products and she rejected 2 of them, which I thought was quite funny.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Because obviously you
know that it's honest though.
Yeah,
That's what I like. She was like, I'm not going to take these. I don't want them.
And you have to shill those products in every episode. And so I always just leave the room. I'm like, I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah.
And then I stayed around.
I'm just
for that
surprised
one.
you didn't offer to help her with her personal brand.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's still time. And so I stayed in the room, and she said no, she didn't want them, but she did take them.
She took one of them. She took Vitals.
Yeah,
but that's why I quite liked it. Right? That's what I mean. I like described them all to her, and she was like, "Oh, this sounds good." The other 2, nah.
Yeah.
So, but that's how you know that someone actually meant yes on the first one because she would have just rejected all.
It's
of them.
not overly polite. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, she was herself.
Yeah.
If you were only going to listen to one episode this year. My interview with Chris Donnelly, it was just a masterclass.
Was that this year?
Well, I think so, yeah. Yeah, it was in 2024. How crazy is that, by the way, that I interviewed you this year? Yeah? I think maybe January
I came to your
February.
house this year?
I think January, February, yeah. Maybe February?
It's a fucking quick turnaround.
Yeah. So I interviewed you, and we had a lot of fun, and then we went to the pub.
Yeah, we did.
And we were talking about, well, I think we were talking sense at the start and not by the end.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah, and then
here we are.
Here we are running the company together and co-hosting in a studio that we've built and all of this stuff. It's pretty interesting turnaround. I
can't believe that was this year. I mean, this year I would say has been the fastest, most, without being too cliche, transformational year I've ever had, and that means that so much stuff has happened this year. It's very hard to. Feels like 3 years in one, but it also feels like a lot of years leading up to that moment as well. So. That can't be your favorite actual episode, though. I mean, it was really fun.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah.
I come back to me. Yours. I guess yours is definitely just Deborah Meaden's, right?
Deborah Meaden's great. I mean, and this is like funny because the interview was so early. It was so last minute. He literally filled in for us. But like Daniel Priestley for me,
that
like
was very good, wasn't it?
I've read Daniel Priestley's book since I was like a kid.
Oh, that was your first interview as well.
Was that the first one?
That was your first interview on Secret Leaders, as in that was
you
as the co-host. That was your first episode.
Yeah. So like legitimately,
you always remember your first.
Yeah. So I've read Dan Priestley's books for 10 years. Like I've loved them. I've read them. I've read
reader.
Key Person of Influence 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I've read like oversubscribed so many times. I've given them to so many entrepreneurs.
And it's your philosophy. Like you're doing what he talks about.
Exactly. And so like, I can't remember who dropped out, but someone dropped out.
Herman Hauser.
Herman Hauser dropped out, which I mean, he's worth
$180 billion. His company. He's joining us next season. Well, we've already recorded it. He's just coming on next season. Yeah,
which is amazing, and that is amazing. But I think with Priestley, because I would say like he quite intimately had an effect on me as an author. I obviously then got to know him a little bit later, and I still think he's awesome. I think he's amazing at explaining relatively complex things to early entrepreneurs, which I think is quite a challenging thing to actually do. And I think that most advice that you see online these days is like, not that practical. Whereas like, I feel he's very practical. And so I actually love that in interviews.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You felt like listening to Daniel Priestley, you understood a lot better about the opportunity that entrepreneurship is and where it's at in a period in time, right? Because he was talking about, what it's like in the 1800s and then the 1900s, then now, and what that looks like in the future, and that geography doesn't necessarily matter so much. He's a typical author, right? He spends time thinking about what those thoughts are and how to shape them and stuff. And I think, it makes a difference.
Yeah. So who's yours?
Do you know what? I'll tell you who I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
Surprising, because it wouldn't have been in my top 10, I don't think, of choices. Lionel Barber. I really enjoyed that interview.
Very strange interview, wasn't it?
It was.
What a story.
But it's also, why it's interesting is because we're usually interviewing the actual entrepreneur about their journey and their story. And this was an interview with the ex-editor of the FT, so one of the world's best journalists.
Yeah. And we talked about Putin, we talked about Massa. It was wild, actually, as interviews go. Yeah.
It was just really interesting, rich stories. He was super engaging. And maybe one of the reasons why I like that so much is because I'm so used to interviewing entrepreneurs. I'm not as used to interviewing proper journalists. And so you got this very different energy out of him. But my God, it was a bloody good interview.
Yeah, it was a great interview. If you're doing business internationally, you should check out Wise Business, the app for doing things in other currencies. Wise Business is the only account you need to manage your company's international money with ease. You can pay and get paid in up to 40 currencies globally, without the headache of multiple accounts. Here's what makes Wise Business incredible. Fast payments, direct integration with platforms like Amazon and Stripe, and seamless connections to your accounting software. With real-time tracking and 24/7 security, your international finances stay protected and under control. Even better, there are no hidden fees, no marked up exchange rates, and no subscription costs to eat into your profits. You can get started with Wise in less time than it takes to make your morning cup of coffee, whether you're launching a new venture or scaling globally. To learn more about how Wise could work for your business, visit wise.com/business.
What was it like for you to enter the big podcasting world with two big Ds?
What, you and Dan?
DMS and Daniel Priestley, yeah.
I mean, it certainly didn't feel like I was entering stardom shooting the first episode in your front room of your house.
I see.
It wasn't like I sort of had a vision of, me walking onto, the Diary CEO, you're there, Herman Hauser's there. I'm like, okay, I'm interviewing a guy who owns a company worth 170 billion. And this guy,
God, actually, that was supposed to be your first interview. That's a very intimidating first interview.
I was shitting myself.
Yeah,
and I would say
a lot.
I get nervous about nothing. And I was absolutely, I remember walking to your house that morning being like, how did we end up with the guy that invented the microchip that's in 99% of all smartphones? How was that my first interview? And then...
Yeah, that's not a gift. That is a curse.
It was wild. And then I think we also had Simon Scribb that day.
Yeah.
Who's obviously a friend of ours, which was nice because
I think that's easier.
Yeah, by then I was much more relaxed. But I mean, podcasting is strange. I thought this year I wasn't going to be doing much, and so I thought it was going to be a relatively quiet year. I didn't think I was going to start a new business, and so this year has been marked with busyness. Obviously, the pod actually takes time and serious work and serious consideration, and it's not for the faint-hearted.
Well, also our setup, because we've been wanting to move into a studio.
Yeah.
Our plan was to record on Fridays.
Yeah.
And that is the deal.
Yeah.
Full stop for both of us. But when you don't have your own studio, that's not how it goes down.
And it's chaotic.
That's not how it goes down. It's like, where can we get a studio spot and when, at what time? It's been stressful.
My general advice to people starting a podcast is that it doesn't come with the immediate media publicity stuff that a lot of people associate with it. The growth of the podcast, I think, comes from the YouTube algorithm fundamentally, and then short form content that drives the pod. And so you're not just building a pod, you're building a whole marketing apparatus for a pod.
Yeah.
And so I'm really pleased with what we've done so far. I mean, I think that the amount of people who reach out and they say, we love the show, it's ranking so well. But yeah, I mean, it's challenging, the economics of it. It's not neither of our primary business. And so it's not, doesn't have to make loads of money, but for it now to be, breaking even and making profit is a really nice feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it's been, is it 6 months?
We started recording in July.
When I launched my new business.
Yeah. Timing, huh?
But yeah, I mean, I've loved it. I feel like, even from a personal perspective, we interviewed Nicola, and then you and Nicola were like, you should meet my husband when you go on holiday. And I met her husband on holiday, and he's the coolest dude ever. And so I had such a nice holiday with him. I mean, it wasn't on holiday with him, but we hung out with him a lot. And that was really nice.
So coincidental, but so nice.
To meet actual friends through the process of doing this. And so, yeah, I think it's been amazing.
How do you think you've seen your interview style change, since you've been starting? Because obviously the first one, you're a bit deer in headlightsy.
Totally.
Now, I mean, even today, you're just chilling, quite comfy.
Yeah, I looked horizontal in that photo I saw of the episode afterwards.
You were very relaxed.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I regret not being harder on guests necessarily, but it's something that's played in my mind that
You were upset about James Watt.
yeah, I was, and I think I'll get into that. Like when I came on the show originally, like I actually think that interviewing is a style that you learn and you get better and better and better, and you become more comfortable at asking questions in between the planned questions, and therefore there's a skill to that, and remembering what you're going to ask. At the beginning, I was like, I have to exactly say it as exactly as it's written, and then I was like, no, I don't. I just have to ask the question, and so I think that took a few weeks to get used to. But obviously, there's been interviews that I would have loved to have pushed harder on, like the Nadim one. If we're going to do an entrepreneur interview, normally it's an entrepreneur conversation, but with like the Nadim one, you could have pushed harder on that one, as in I could have, and then obviously James came on from Brewdog, and you know his story is nuanced because he took the people to court who called him out, and he won that case. And so publicly everyone's like, you know, you guys should have crucified him on the episode, but it's like, but he did win the case in court, and so it's so much more nuanced. But I do wish we had explored that topic more with him.
I think that one's really interesting because I personally, because I think that what's important is you're doing the right thing that you believe in as the interviewer. So the reason I went harder on Nadim and then I was like, okay, that was pretty good, is because I don't like Tories, and my bias was coming out all over the shop, right? You know, it was anti-Boris, and it was just coming out all over the shop. It was just really me. Well, it's James Watt. I've been following that case, you know, for, you know, his career via LinkedIn before we became friends. So I know that he took those people to court. I know that he won, and I'm sure there is some nuance there, like you said. But like, I actually do believe in his version of events broadly. I actually do. And I know he has Asperger's, and so there will be like personality things, but he built a big $1 billion brand, and you know that takes a lot, and a certain type of person and a certain type of culture in a period of time. So I've personally been on his side for it. I think for you it's slightly more difficult because you've built an audience on social media. So much of it has been around the entertainment of bad bosses, and
which is what I believe.
Exactly, you do. Yeah. That's what I mean. That's so your thing. And here's one of the poster boys of it, and that's why I think you maybe got a lot of shit. I didn't, but it's not my thing.
I wouldn't even say I don't even mind about getting shit. I just felt like I finished the episode and I thought, wow, we made a good episode there, but I wish I had pushed more on. Let's say you did win the case and you were right. Do you think you could have been nicer and more considerate towards your staff?
Yeah.
Easy question to ask.
Exactly. Yeah.
Should have asked.
Well, the stuff that you care about.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
so
I'll
exactly
DM
that.
him. Yeah.
DM and be like, I'm screenshotting the answers. By the way.
Posting it.
Thanks for the content.
My people. So yeah, I think that's been it's been something to get used to, but like I feel really comfortable doing it now.
But how much more combative do you want to be? Because like, as your friend, you're not actually that combative. You're quite direct. But you're not. I'm more challenging than you, like as in general, in terms of like a personality, our dynamic between us, like all that stuff. Like that's not. I wouldn't say so naturally you. You're actually quite easygoing.
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation, right? I feel like if in my ordinary life, day to day, I would always seek to have like a quiet life.
That's what I mean.
And and I'll allow opinions to happen around me that I don't agree with.
Yeah,
and I won't challenge them. But if you're like coming on the show, I would say then you get the more direct, more combative side of me, which is like the difference is when someone's saying something around me that I don't agree with, I'm okay for that to exist. If I'm platforming it, I have to associate my view with it.
Right.
And I think that's the key. So I don't know if I'm inviting people on for combat necessarily, but I feel like that will be part and parcel of going forward. Like I'm not a huge fan of the fact that I think that entrepreneurs and celebrities and whatever do get away with lying so much. And I feel like if you come on the show, like we will probably explore those things, and so I think that's fine.
Yeah, I also think thing that you rightly value as views, and actually challenging people on that stuff will get a lot more views in general.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that's quite interesting, right? If we had actually challenged James a lot more on that stuff, probably would have actually.
Someone else just did it on another pod, and it's a really great segment.
Really?
Yeah. So obviously you've been doing this for 7 years.
Yeah.
And originally audio under the duvet to make the sound quality better on the audio, which is wild to think about. And also like the backlog of Secret Leaders is crazy.
Yeah.
Never to be forgotten that the reason I joined the show is it was my favorite show. So how has it changed for you? Because obviously now it's all video, we're in a studio.
There's two things. One is obviously having a co-host, and
Yeah.
then the second, so it's a really interesting, different dynamic on intimacy when there's three of you, than on just two of you. And I think that can be a positive thing and a negative thing, but I think our dynamic is very natural, which is fortunate. It wouldn't necessarily be. So I think that's why we're lucky that it's just very natural. I feel like we feel very comfortable and therefore can make a guest feel really comfortable. Because that is the best thing about doing a podcast in person instead of over Zoom or whatever, just audio, is the intimacy is so much more palpable and valuable in person.
Yeah.
It just really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And so that can sometimes be the challenge if there's three of you versus just two of you, is can you get that same intimacy from the person? Can you get that same depth? Can you get them to feel as comfortable? I think we've actually done a really good job of that, but I think that wasn't a given.
Like we just had that interview with Mark, and that felt like three people having a conversation who were really enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
And you'd never have that over Zoom.
No, for sure not.
Yeah, like
So-
I was 100% in that conversation.
Yeah, so I think that side of it, and then video. I'm still working my way up to video, right? Video was my big challenge this year. I set for myself on my personal brand and everything. You know, it was like, can I do videos and stick them on LinkedIn and Instagram and move the podcast to video? Because at the core of all of this, like, I'm just still really, really deeply British, which is what I'm trying to work out of me. Right, I'm trying to, and so, you know, process of osmosis, surrounding myself with people that inspire me with their attitude to the whole personal brand stuff. Yeah, you are right at the top of that list. Like you and Simon Squibb are right at the top of that list. And Tim Marmou, and like you guys are people that I spend a lot of time with. And the fact that you're all doing it and you're all recently doing it as well, like longer than I have, but still recent in grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Helps me feel more comfortable about all this video in my fucking face all the time and talking to the video and like that.
But I mean, it's working, right? I mean, if you just look at like, we haven't been doing YouTube very long and the views are starting to fly in, like the subscribers are growing. Yeah. You know, obviously we could do much more broad content, but that wouldn't be like true to the show. And so, yeah, I'm incredibly pleased with what we've made so far. And if this is like our first 6 months together.
Yeah, not even right. It's actually first 3 months of actually just having the show out.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Christ, I do feel like I've done this for a while.
That is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the show's only been out for 3 months.
Yeah. And we built a team, built a studio.
Office.
Yeah. Obviously we kept Jay.
Yeah.
I call him Muscles Jay.
Jay, well, you do now.
Jay the
I've
Muscles.
never heard that.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Damn it, Jay. Yeah, I called Damn it, Jay, yeah.
If they keep this in the show, Jay has amazing guns. That's what we were talking about earlier.
This is true.
Yeah.
We say we built the studio. I think Jay built the studio and Tom designed it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you say, Jay, that Tom made you carry everything, but Tom's version of it is you got annoyed when he suggested he'd carry one thing. Apparently you wanted to, and you didn't want to use the lift either.
Jay was like, let me get this one.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's funny about being an entrepreneur? Everyone thinks that we're these super productive machines, crushing it 24/7. But let me tell you a secret. Half the time, I'm just trying to figure out where I saved that one important file from 3 weeks ago.
Really? But you're so organized.
Yeah, well, I'm about to be, because I've been testing the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip, and oh my God, this thing is like having a personal assistant that actually knows what they're doing.
All right.
You know those days when you've got back-to-back calls? Well, you're about to make some great first impressions, because the Poly Camera Pro is insane. It tracks your face, fixes the lighting, and makes you look like you've had a professional film crew, even when you're working from your kitchen.
Yeah, it's tough to focus when you're out of focus.
I might legitimately look better in the Poly Camera Pro than I do in person. I shouldn't even bother having in-person meetings anymore. Anyway, here's where it gets really interesting. You know we're always talking about working smarter and not harder.
Yeah, that's very much your thing. I haven't quite mastered it like you just yet.
I've told you, delegate. Let the HP AI companion focus on the research so you can focus on what really matters. It can analyze documents, summarize reports, and even help you draft content. It can even summarize 10,000 words in seconds.
Wow, that's actually really amazing.
I know. Here's what I love most about the AI companion. It just helps you get to the point.
Yeah, I'm a vision person. So let's keep things at the top so we can make a decision and move forward.
Exactly. The AI companion can analyze an entire research paper in seconds, pull out the main insights, and even suggest action items. Work smarter with the right tools. Work doesn't have to feel like work. Look, I've built and sold companies worth millions, and I can tell you, the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip isn't just another laptop. It's like having an entire support team built into your computer. And here's the thing, whether you're just starting out or scaling up, this is the kind of tech that actually makes the difference. It's not just fancy features. It's about giving you back time to focus on what matters, building your business. This isn't just an upgrade, it's an absolute game changer. And trust me, once you try it, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it.
For 10% off, use our code HP Love Work. That's HPLOVEWORK. Valid until 31st of January. T's and C's apply. UK only.
So I think the other thing that's very important about a show is like you interview someone, but then the key takeaways that someone gives you. So if you're to point to a couple of points we've got from guests in the last couple of months, like what are standout points that the audience should take away?
Well, if I'm thinking back to one that I thought was super interesting, Justine Roberts, founder of Mumsnet.
Yeah.
There's so much in that episode that's really fascinating. I think they're the fourth biggest social media company in the UK. They are the first company, I think, in Europe to sue OpenAI, so ChatGPT, in a case that, you know, they're right about realistically, you know, which is that ChatGPT's basically been scraping their data and is monetizing and selling it. Yeah. You know, that's like, you know, they're the first publisher or social network to do that. And underneath all of that is a founder who's been in that business for almost 2 decades, right? Is still like deep in the weeds with it, really cares about it.
Still passionate about it as well.
So passionate about it. And I think that's, you know, that there is a lesson there as well, which is that, like, you know, she's also a very powerful woman. Like, she now has a CBE. So, you know, that makes
interviews prime ministers.
Interviews, you know, prime ministers beg to go on Mumsnet if they want to win the vote.
Yeah.
Because they basically have all the women in the UK that go on Mumsnet and decide. So there's a really interesting sense of like purpose and power that exists there. And even though she did come on and say, you know, she doesn't want to be there for another decade, you know, she does want to think about who her successor is and move on. I think there's often not enough celebration of founders that are building lasting legacy businesses that are designed to stick around. You know, I think in today's world, we spend a lot of time celebrating, ultimately by accident, get rich quick kind of founders, right?
Yeah, like flash in a pan, VC backs.
Once, you know, they had the exit for the 100 million, but then like nothing ever happened after that. You never heard them, but again, end up getting shut down. The founder's doing something else. That's a very natural progression, and I understand it. But actually, not enough people do what Justine's doing. And I think it's really cool. Like, it's really cool to like genuinely care about your mission so much and be making a dent in really, really valuable space. Like, you were doing IVF and learning from there, right? And you're a bloke. Like, there's so much more to just like Mumsnet than just that, right? It's a culturally important place. So I think that, to me, I find that very inspiring, because sometimes, like all people building brands, some days I'm like, God, when will this fucking just end? And I can be out and free. And other days I'm like, I think I should just do this the rest of my life, actually. I'm so happy. Why would I want to exit? Like, do you really want to leave a business on purpose that you found like your right fit for? It's so hard to find that in general. And all businesses are hard, so why rush to leave it? So yeah, I oscillate between the two. So I think it's really important to find that.
I think that's such a good topic that we should cover more in the future. Is like, I think there are businesses you should exit and businesses that maybe you don't need to exit. And I'd say like my first business, an agency business, like 100 staff, loads of clients, still, even in the moment where it was making millions of pounds of profit, still felt like sand in the hand, because like you lose a client and then you have to like reduce the staff, and then like suddenly you get this cascade of stuff down, whereas
momentum is everything, and momentum goes both ways.
Whereas like a business like Lottie, a business like Heights, like they are just the most unbelievable example of compound. You know, like year after year they just grow and grow and grow, and the retention's amazing, and before long you're like, wow, that is like a really sizable business that pays out a really healthy dividend.
Yeah, and actually, you know, when you say that stuff, it does make me think I'm really excited to be building Secret Leaders alongside actually having a live consumer business out in the world. Like, it'd be really interesting to see where this isn't 2, 3, 4 years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like you say, those businesses, they really do compound.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing that young entrepreneurs always say they understand.
Compound growth.
Compound
No
growth.
one understands compound growth. They just say they do.
Yeah, and it's obviously easy to spot in retrospect, but like the reality is that like great businesses just fundamentally don't happen overnight. And it often really, if you're looking into it, like we just had a great business on. We had Mark from Horace on, you know, he's 10 years into that journey. He's now making 25 million a year, but he's 10 years in. And yeah, the first few years you wouldn't have looked at that and been like, wow, that was, you know, amazing. I think my key takeaway from the entrepreneurs I've enjoyed the most, and we talked to Mark about this a lot earlier, was like really fundamentally getting down to the nuts and bolts of who the customer is. And I think he was so good at explaining that as a D2C brand, like how he connects with men for skincare and like how he does that, how he connects with them, how he thinks about it. And I think that the takeaway I would say is like you're never wasting any time talking to your customers.
That's true.
Like any time spent with your customers, asking them what they want, how they want it, when they want it is always good news. Because like if you got like 100 Heights customers in a room and you just asked them 100 questions,
love to do that.
You would literally walk away and be like, okay, I've got the roadmap.
Yeah.
Like here's the next 5 years.
I'm literally doing a customer shoot next week, so but not 100. I wish I had 100 in a room.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe you could. Heights conference.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you're right. But then, you know, people don't tend to turn up just so that you can ask them tons of questions. They kind of want some value. But anyway.
Give them some free pills.
I tell you who else I thought was really, really interesting and a very different vibe. Damien Bradfield, you know, $500 million exit. Not happy.
No. Very understated as well.
Very.
Like getting out of him the number that he sold for was near impossible. I mean, we gave it a good go. Didn't you have like a, is it higher, is it lower? Apparatus, which is quite fun. But yeah, not happy, but strange story in the end, WeTransfer, wasn't it?
It was a strange story, and it had a very rushed exit, 6 weeks to exit.
Yeah.
Huge exit, but like again, not happy because he wasn't in control of the exit. It's not how he wanted it to go down.
And weirdly, like,
and that's after almost going public for a few billion as well. So that does make sense, like in that light as well. That
as
must
it
be
smacks a bit after that.
Yeah, sure.
It's, I mean, WeTransfer is like one of those businesses that if you had owned like the majority of it yourself, it would be
out there.
the dreamiest business ever to own. And so I sometimes think again, like
and that was his point.
Yeah,
that was his point.
It would be great, but it would be a great business to run.
Yeah, that was his point. His point was that it was a massive mistake to raise money. He had the best business on earth and raised money, and it made it a business that was designed to sell when actually it was never really a business designed. So it was a business designed for unbelievable cash flow and incredible careers.
Yeah, there is something that Daniel Priestley said to us, which I listen to and I think about a lot, which is I've built a business this year, which feels like to the ordinary person, one of the more remarkable businesses they've ever seen. However, Dan Priestley sat down and was like, if you discover a business like that, so not dissimilar to WeTransfer, for example, or businesses like that, super high defensibility, you know, incredible margin, like not that hard to run, people will coming for it. And that means that like market forces will identify the unbelievable outcome that you have in your business and therefore will like copy, as Richard Harpin says, and pivot your business. And so like the only reason why you might sell a business is that the external market forces are driving at you and like year by year knocking away at your profit and margin. And that's fundamentally what we see happening to massive businesses all the time, is that they kind of go stale, they don't reinvent, and then the market eats up their lunch basically. And so I don't know if you can hold on to a business forever for the dividend, but you certainly don't need to be in as much of a rush to sell it as I think a lot of people are. And he said that, and I remember being like, fuck, that's some good shit. Thanks, Priestley. Write a book on it.
There was also in parallel James Watt's perspective of die in the chair. You know, he was like, I hate it when when entrepreneurs come to me asking for investment, and then they're like, here's the exit slide. Which is quite ironic because every founder is told to do that, but whatever. Sure, that's James's approach. He's like, your exit strategy is to die in the chair.
Especially while he's like exiting.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. Yeah. But then at the same time, you know, Timo Bolt from Gusto, he seems very much like someone who wants to die in the chair. Like he seems like there isn't really a number that he would exit for. He was super passionate.
So mission driven. I remember being like, I remember I might have even said it in the interview. I was like, I could follow that guy.
Yeah, totally.
Like I was like, I can buy into his mission.
Yeah.
Like to me, that mission wasn't so big until he communicated it to me, and I was like, that's a big mission.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they do hundreds of millions in revenue on meal boxes. You know, I'm one of their customers, right? I absolutely love it. But you know, he makes a good point in terms of like how big that company can go, and yeah, you see it. You see, there's an angle of like die in the chair energy. I think it's very, like listening, you know, even just on reflection of some of the people who've said this. The biggest business owners, the ones who built the biggest brands that we admire the most, they're multi-decade stories, typically speaking. I mean, and again, it's one of those complete fallacies that you can build a big brand and make a dent in any kind of way without doing that, without sitting in the chair for a long enough period of time and driving it and being the driving force behind it.
Yeah. And like, you know, even my own experience, I did Verb for 10 years, exactly 10 years almost, you know. Yeah. And so I'm not saying that was a massive business, but it was a very big success. Yeah. And that took exactly 10 years. And so I just don't think it's possible. No matter what you read online, you see all these videos, you know, ultimate wealth or like get rich in X period of time. Most of it is just clickbait nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah. And fundamentally, the real key to this stuff is just to still be in love with your mission at some point. Because if you fall out of love with the mission, or you get bitter like Damien did, like, you know, that does fundamentally change how you feel about the business, and then it's not going to last for you.
Yeah.
So unwrapping our Christmas episode here, those are some of the things that we've enjoyed throughout the year.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to next year?
I think we have this like crazy roster of people coming on. So like I genuinely believe that there are few, if not no, shows that have the amount of successful billionaire, multi-billionaire founders coming on who, and we will get into those stories. Like we have founders worth, you know, combined 200 billion coming on in the first few months of next year, which
first few weeks,
and like we're going to get into it with them. We're going to talk about like how they built it, how it works, like what was the nuance, what makes a £1 billion business. And you don't get many shows that get to do that. You know, like we're having really successful entrepreneurs coming on, which I'm personally very excited about, and I know we've shot some of them already and they're insane. So I think that's my most looking forward to. What about you?
I'm a man of simple tastes, Chris. The general knowledge that I'm going to come to this studio and record in this studio with our team, and as much as I've loved going to other studios, because they've been fucking awesome in their own way.
And fun.
They have. But like, I can't live my life that way. There was a period of time where I feel like, okay, cool. Yes, can we record this emergency thing on a Tuesday and now on a Thursday? Yeah. For a little period of time, sure. But I can't be just running Heights, and I'm sure you can't also be running Creator Academy like this. Like, I can't be doing those things well without a consistent schedule. So knowing that this is going to be happening on Fridays in this studio, in this space, and this is where guests come to, I think it's going to make me fall in love with the whole process even more.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed transitioning from doing this on my own. You know, first over Zoom and then in our front room and stuff, and then doing it with you, like starting off in the front room and then this studio and then that studio into here to wrap up the year. I've enjoyed that, but this feels very much like the start, and I'm so looking forward to people coming here, seeing how beautiful the studio is, how awesome our office is, how great everything just looks and feels, how awesome our own team is. Honestly, that like building vibes for 2025,
and that's just going to result in bigger, better, more interesting guests, more organized team, better content. Like it's a full business now, and I think that the sky is the limit for where we can go. And there's so many shows that were great business shows that now aren't great business shows, and I feel like that really is a gap for us to fill. Something that's really useful to entrepreneurs.
Yeah, with some behind the scenes chat like this.
I think the other thing we're going to focus on next year is obviously we've been making ads, because as much as everyone hates ads, a podcast tends to make the majority of its money from ads. And so we have to put ads in the show to create the content. And so some people have not liked our ads a huge amount. And to those people, I say, suck it up. Suck it up, guys.
Well, we can make slightly better ads. I think we can improve.
We can make better ads. But I need you guys to understand, okay, all of you, that we're going to get on the best founders in the world to the show. We have a whole studio, a whole team of people. We're going to make incredible episodes, and we do need sponsors to pay for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we're not selling you anything. Like, we're making this stuff for free, right?
Yeah, we would love you to use Wise for your bank account.
Yeah.
Get some ISO 27001.
I mean,
from
Wise,
Vanta.
like, I actually did do an ad for Wise. It's so funny with ads, actually, because with an ad, you have to make the ad that the sponsor tells you to make. But what I'm about to tell you is actually way better than the ad, which is I started a Wise account for my new business recently, and it has literally been amazing because the problem I had before is I have loads of international clients all paying into a UK-based pound sterling account. Disaster, like losing so much money. Whipped up a Wise account. Next couple of days had like multi-currency accounts, therefore immediately saving more money. The other problem that most banks get wrong, especially the neo banks, is the fact that they don't allow you to have someone administer the account on your behalf.
Yes.
It is a fucking disaster.
Yes, we don't talk about that in the ad. That's so annoying.
It is honestly so frustrating. Like, my new business has gone well, and so it's like processing a lot of money, a lot of supplier payments and so forth, and I'm having to sit there.
As if you have to be exactly.
I'm sitting there on a Friday. My FD is like, "Can you make these payments?" I'm like logging in, like typing, putting the password in, every. Whereas with Wise, I just immediately assigned it to my FD, and now my life is better. So if you want an ad, that was not an ad, but should have been an ad.
And same as Secret Leaders, right? We've just got Russ. Just send them all to him. He does them. We're not doing the payments personally.
I'm still not logged
If you
into
run
the
a business, if you run a business and have a bank account, you will totally relate to what we're saying.
Yeah.
It is such a stupid setup that.
It's unbelievable.
So thank you, Wise, for that. And go to Dubai.
Also, Wise is a fucking sick product. So like, it's so funny that they make you be like, Wise is the best currency multi-account that there possibly is in the world.
Just show them us using the product. So easy. Anyway, this may have sounded a bit like a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
It's not officially. Please do come back next week. Christmas episode, more vibes with Mark from Horace. So founder
Incredible
of France's, he's the founder of France's #1 skincare brand for men.
Yeah.
Literally built it in the last decade,
25
overtaken
million
everyone else.
turnover, flying.
And we're going to have a little Christmas wrap up ourselves with a Christmas giveaway.
Yeah, indeed.
We're going to be giving away all the Christmas money.
Are we?
Well, I mean, there's no point giving away my money. It's more exciting to give away yours.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we giving
it's
away?
a tax thing. Don't
Are
worry.
we giving away books?
We're giving away books.
We're
Yeah,
giving
that's
away
true.
books.
Yeah.
Our favorite books.
Our favorite books, and it'll be a whole Christmas giveaway thing. We don't want to give away too much right now because you need to come back. You need to come back and listen. So anyway, without further ado, I'm Dan.
I'm Chris.
And this has been Secret Leaders. See you next week.